At last we will reveal ourselves to the Jedi. At last we will have revenge.
The dark side of the Force is a pathway to many abilities some consider to be unnatural.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Sithcast podcast, a Star Wars podcast where we pretty much talk anything and everything Star Wars. Welcome, everyone, and everyone on the Paradox Nerd channel. Welcome. We got a special show tonight with a special guest. I always say special. It's like my special word.
Every
Special
show
guest,
is special.
episode.
Yeah,
It's
it's
like
fine.
But anyway, we really do have a special guest tonight. We got the man, the myth, the legend, Tom Spina from Regal Robot and Tom Spina Designs.
I'll settle for myth. I feel like that's a good one to aim for. Like, man, I don't know. The legend, that feels like a lot. Myth, like I can work with that.
There you go.
Well, I was gonna
and thank you for that intro, though.
Oh, you're very welcome. But let me say is that when I was watching a certain show, a special guest was there, and it was on Vice, the Vice channel.
Oh yeah.
Oh goodness.
I was like, wait a minute, I know that guy.
Yeah.
Where's my Salacious Scrum? No, but like I was like, oh, dude, that's pretty cool. And
yeah.
How awesome was that? Like you were.
That was pretty cool. I get asked to do cool things sometimes, and it was it was nice. They came out, they shot in the in my little collection room, and it was funny. A lot of the times when they were talking about the Cantina stuff, they were shooting like my replicas and things either I had sculpted or the people I worked with for commercials or whatever, or just for fun, some of them. And they'd be talking about an alien, and they were using like my version of it. And I'm like, you could use a picture of the real one, like,
yeah.
But yeah, they had, I guess they had kind of found out I was sort of the uber Cantina nerd and wanted someone in there that could talk about the production of the scene a little bit and give some of the backstory and things like that. And, for me, the cool thing was to see, my segment going intercut with like Rick Baker. Like, yeah. Like, you know what? Forget that Spina guy. Like, let's just focus on Rick here for a minute, can we? Don't even bother with me. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say Rick Baker is definitely a legend, but you're mentioned alongside with him, which is pretty
I'm
cool.
the myth. He's the legend. I'm okay with that. That's fine. Yeah. I thank you for that. I think it was, I feel lucky when folks ask me to do stuff like that. And I think it's just, for me, I just have a passion for this stuff. I'm like excited to learn about the making of these movies. I'm excited to share that stuff when I can. It's just always neat to get that opportunity, whether it's like doing stuff at Star Wars Celebration where we do the panels or doing something like that on camera, which was just, it was a lot of fun.
Well, watching those shows, like I think the Light and Magic, right? It was the name.
Oh yeah, that was so
Light
good.
and Magic, coinciding with the Vice show, Icons.
Yeah.
It just gave me goosebumps. Just because of all the hard work that went into making Star Wars, which a lot of people don't realize there is a lot of hard work. And I'm like looking at my Regal Robot Rancor, and I'm like, someone signed that. Phil Tippett.
Yeah. And there he is. That was the Phil Tippett show too, man. They really, like, Phil was all over that documentary, the Light and Magic one.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, he was in the other one too, but like the Light and Magic was like literally the Phil Tippett show,
which is great because it just made me appreciate some of the prop replicas, the collectibles that I pick up from your company. And just the fact that like what the hard work that goes into making like the Rancor for the movie, and then you try to replicate that and give that same Rancor that we saw in the movies and put it in collectible form. and give it to us so that we could have a part of that like movie history
and
in our collection.
That, like the lineage of the piece where we're scanning the real prop, and then to have
Yeah.
the guy who made it and performed it signing the plaques and a part of the edition. Like, for me, that's just the most exciting part of like what we're doing, and
Yeah.
that we started to shift, and now we've named this thing the archive collection, and we're doing more and more of our pieces that way. Like, I feel like we're trying to make something that's more than a typical collectible, trying to do something really special with it, trying to give people stuff that has that feel that the real ones have when you look at it, and I don't mean like a tactile feel, but I think it was Phil who said, we had done the chess set, and we wound up giving him a set. And if you go to the Tippett Studios, in the lobby in Tippett Studios, they've got a little case up, and he's got a set of our chess pieces up there as an example of the work he had done. And that just blows my mind. And one of the things he said was like, I wouldn't know they weren't the real ones unless I touched them.
Wow.
And that's like,
that's a compliment.
Yeah, like, holy cow. But that's what we're going for. Like, we want stuff that people look at and just go like, that's the puppet, right? Like, that feels like the puppet. Like, it feels like at any minute that it's going to start munching on a little mini Gamorrean guard head or something like that. And that's the goal. All of this stuff is, how do we get it so that when you look at it, you just get that vibe that you get when you see an original prop. It's a warts and all approach. It is, it is a being true to the original approach. It is not idealizing stuff or putting our own spin on things. It's, it's like Bruce Lee, like, let no style be your style. Like, that's how you have to replicate props. It's, be water, you're in a bowl, become the bowl, right? Like, that's, except in this case, it's, if you've got something Phil Tippett sculpted, you better damn well sculpt like Phil Tippett when you make this thing.
Right. Yeah. I was going to say, and I feel like when you look at the photographs, it just doesn't do, the props justice until you see it in person.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny, when we were doing Celebration, we tried to make a point of bringing as many pieces as we could, because it really is tough to photograph this stuff. Like, I do a lot of the photography when it comes to the product stuff. Max at the studio does a bunch of it as well. Like any shot like this where I'm in it, or Rob, but I'll agonize over those photos. The Tusken Raider and Max Rebo were two of the hardest things we've ever photographed. The Raider wrappings are so distressed and darkened and smeared and stained and all of this stuff. And then, like, you take a photo and you bring it in and you're like, okay, I did the whole shoot. Everything looks great. And you look at the picture and it looks brand new and clean.
Oh, it's too clean.
Weathering is one of those things. I talk about this a lot and I probably bore people, but like, you either, when we do stuff for screen, like we're doing stuff for a commercial or a video or a film, you have to overdo this to such a degree that if anybody put it in their collection, they would think this looks terrible.
Yeah.
That's not how weathering is done. This looks fake.
Well,
but on screen, it looks great. So we had to figure out that happy medium. Like, how do we weather this in a way that looks good on a shelf, but then also we can photograph this? Like, how do we photograph it so that you could see that? And it was tricky. And Max Rebo is just tricky because he just wants to turn one color blue. And there is so much paint on that thing that it's really hard to tell. Like, there, he just looks blue. This shot, the side view shot from the previous one, is pretty good. You can kind of make out some of the brown wash on him, some of the darker sort of patterning that happens on his ears or flippers, depending who you talk to. But there's a whole bunch going on there, and it really is tricky to photograph. And, you sit there and the little red balls from Red Ball Jet just start bursting in color on the screen. It's like they just jump out on the camera as this bright red, and the rest of him starts to wash out because of that. We got to just start making stuff that's easier to photograph, I guess. I don't know.
No, I mean, obviously you got to stay true to the actual prop, but it looks great though. And I remember Sean Stone, shout out to him.
Hey, what's going on, Sean?
Him and I were hanging out.
Legend. Again, myth. We're going with myth, but thank you.
I was hanging out with him at Celebration. We had lots of fun. And I remember he was just so worried about getting the signature edition for your Max Rebo. He's like, "Oh, I gotta get it. I gotta get it." And I know he's owned.
It was nuts at that show.
Oh my gosh, yes. And I think I think you sold out like on the second day. Is it?
It was the
or
third day.
Yeah, I remember like going there. It was like
we were really trying to limit them and trying to make sure that we had some. Hello there. We were trying to make sure we had some like for each day, and it was just it was tough. You'd have things where it's like you'd have a line of people, and you'd go to cut off, and there's someone that you saw that was waiting there since before the show opened, and you're like, But we, it did help just being at the show and talking with folks. We've done signature editions on stuff, but not everything has been a signature edition, and the maquettes were not supposed to be signature editions. The Tusken Raider wasn't going to be a signature edition. The Gaffy sticks weren't going to be a signature edition, but it really was important to folks. And there are some limitations on us in that regard. So we can't always get the character or the actor or whatever that people necessarily want. But the fact that it made such an impact on people, the fact that the Max Rebo signature became such a chase for people, I know some of that was because of the show and because it was only 83 of them and whatever, but that it meant something to people was important. And it was like, okay, you know what? I mean, we know these people. I've been on this deep dive research project for the last, couple of months, going through all of the maquettes that are in the archives, all of the maquettes that aren't there, all of the ones that were in, the old documentaries and old photographs and notes from the production, and like trying to figure out what they all were and who made each one, who sculpted each one. Because for us, that maquette line is really about the creators. It's about the people behind the scenes that made these characters come to life. And that starts with that initial maquette. A ton of them are Phil Tippett. A ton of them are people like Chris Wayless and Ken Ralston and Judy Elkins and Tom Santamon and down the line, Dave Carson, Kirk Thatcher, even Joe Johnston. There's, this huge line of people that worked on these. And it's been really cool figuring out who did what and who didn't, and what's left to still identify, and which ones we've scanned and which ones we haven't yet, and what we've got to, try and get back there to do. And, it's making this line that much more special. And now we're looking at each one and we're saying, okay, let's do a signature edition, about 100 pieces, a numbered edition, about 200 or 250 pieces, depending. And give people something that is, the sort of chase thing for the people who have to have that, the best of the best and who love the signatures, and give people another option where they're like, you know what? I don't need the signature. I just want to have the figure. And give us a chance to have the thing still on the website because, this is a line that's going to go on for a long time. And I know the Max Rebos so all of the signature edition are gone. And I would say most of the regular edition are gone at this point. Not most, but definitely more than half. And I want to say about 150 out of the 100 out of the 250 are gone. I'd have to check my notes, but that's top of the head. That to me says those things can be on the site for a little while. And maybe by the time the next one comes out, someone might pick that up and not have seen Max Rebo and say, oh, I'll get that too. Or, maybe the next one after that comes out and they can say, oh, I'll get these previous two. I don't want one of those things where people come in and are afraid to jump in because they can't get what came before.
So you mean like pretty much a lot of your stuff on your website?
Some of the bigger stuff, like Jabba being sold out because he's part of that maquette collection, is a little rough. The other stuff, the chess pieces, those had a real long run on them. We had the signature edition, which obviously sold out. I think it was like 24 minutes or something ridiculous.
Yeah.
But the numbered edition, the 2-packs, were available for like a month. So people had plenty of time to get on that. And we made as many as people ordered. And there's even, if you scroll up to the top of that page, we do still have, it's just a handful of each, but the wait list on the 2-packs The body slams are sold out, but we've got the wait list on a couple of the others. If you scroll down, it'll show you how many are left. There should be a little graphic going across the page.
Wait, hold on.
So
These
just
are,
there it is.
Scroll
down the page a little bit. There you go.
Is it this
we
one?
passed it. There you
This
are.
one. Yeah.
So if anybody was trying to get any of those 2-packs, maybe you picked up the body slam and you want to get the rest, this is the time to grab those.
Yeah.
Those are because we made extras in case we had damage during shipping, and very luckily didn't have that. So, we've now got a few left over of each figure, and a bunch of these sold on waitlist as soon as we put them up, and that's what's left if anybody's interested. They're all really cool. Man, that whole project was just insane to work on.
So, the reason why I brought up Light and Magic, right? Because it's such a well-made documentary. You just kind of like see the ins and outs of how all these were made, especially with the mind of Phil Tippett and how he was brought along and on the first movie. And George is like, all right, make me all these like characters. And it's just like, and again, it's just like, as a collector, the first thing that comes to mind is your company, Real Robot, just because you're like, that is because I didn't understand. Like, I love Rancor. I'm going to be honest. I love Rancor and I love Salacious Crumb. That's why I had to have it in my collection. But what makes that documentary more special now is that I could see what your basically your mission is to, like really capture the essence of Star Wars and how all these things were made.
Yeah.
It's
well said, man.
It's just very, very and I highly recommend to anyone watching or listening, definitely give Light and Magic a watch and try to I don't know, tell yourself not to buy any of these amazing pieces because that's basically what you're getting.
Don't try and tell yourself that. What are you talking about?
Well, yeah.
Try and tell yourself the opposite of that.
Yeah, obviously.
Go to regalrobot.com.
That's thank you. Yeah, you're hired. He's even got the crew shirt. It's so true though, man. Like to me, the making of the movies, I say this all the time, the making of the movies inspires me as much as the movies. I watch the hell out of the movies. I love the movies. But like, if I'm thinking about a product, 99% of the time, I'm not thinking about what it looked like in the movie. Like I'm thinking of the Tusken Raider bust. My immediate thoughts of that Tusken Raider bust is the white background promo photos where they got the guy in the bantha robe sitting around holding the gaffy stick and doing the guitar pose where he's doing like the power chord and stuff. Like those photos that I saw in books and things like that, these rare looks behind the scenes, sparked my imagination just as much as they looked in the as they did in the movie. And to be able to go like, oh my gosh, we were able to scan the exact one that is in those photos, like to know that that's that mask out of 4 different masks they made for the movie. This is that exact mask. Like that's a really cool thing for me. And to be able to then take that scan and to, dial in the asymmetry in all of the metal parts and in the face and the twist and the tilt and get all the leather pieces in the right place so that when we're casting these things, every one of them has the same folds in the quote leather of the mouth and the same wraps, and nothing's going to come undone over time, and it's just going to immediately look and feel like you've gone to the Lucasfilm archives. Those heads are something we've spent a ton of time with over there, both in the digital sense when we're doing our scans and stuff, but we've even prior to that we had examined them a couple of times and had done color matches with Pantones and had done fabric matches. And so we'd go one time and we'd examine everything and measure things and figure a bunch of stuff out. Then we go back and we do a bunch of tests, and then we come back the next time and we've got a whole bunch of fabric dye tests to match the wraps and find out which fabric is the closest match, which dye is the closest match, what shreds the right way and stuff like that. And it's more than you get from just working from a photo. And I hope it shows in the final piece. I hope that people can see, on something like this, just how much effort goes into making each one of these in tearing and folding and shredding those wraps and doing the distressing, the layers of dye, the layers of paint, the layers of other distressing techniques, and then coming back and doing more dye and more paint, and more shredding and more angling and all of that stuff, and then getting everything together, wrapped in the right order, everything overlapping the right way, and trying to keep that the same over 150 pieces. It's going to be a very fun, very intense, and interesting project.
Now, Tom, I got a question.
Sure.
Like, when your initial thoughts when you were wanting to do a Tuscan, were you thinking the Peter Diamond mask at first, like because it was such an iconic scene?
So if we were, if we weren't doing this as an archive piece, that would certainly be the temptation. But that's not a piece that's in the archives. So
Really?
we looked at the masks that were in the archives and identified which ones they were on screen and in the promo pictures and stuff. And when we found this one, who was the main guy that's in all of the promotional photos,
Okay.
that to me was like, okay, we've got a photo match. You know,
is this guy right here?
So that's Alan Fernandez on set. We don't know if this is the specific mask he used because the photos aren't clear enough. If you were to go, I think it's on our Facebook page from today. There's a shot that's got the one of the promotional photos on there. Yeah, there's Alan. I'm pretty sure. Let me do a quick check here because I can probably even. Do I have something on my phone I could pull up with a picture of that guy? Stand by. We're gonna go.
Well, while you
really
do that, I'm gonna address the chat real quick, and we have RMD Collective. What's up, RMD? Thank you for tuning in tonight's show. We got Far From Death Star.
What's up, Far From?
We got Scott Berry.
Scotty.
We got Anthony, aka BMX Jedi, aka Sith Holocron.
So let's see if
we got
can get
Appetite.
This to
Oh, there you go.
So not the greatest.
It's on the website, right?
So that picture's not on the website, but that is on social today. So that'll be on Instagram, Facebook, whatever. But that picture series, there's a whole series of photos with that same costume. That's the same shots they did with the Jawas. There was a stormtrooper that has like the shorter blaster that looks like Dr. Evazan's blaster. That's the series that came from. And that to me is a really iconic series. It's in the Art of book. It's in I'm pretty sure he's in the Chronicles. I know he's in the Visual Dictionary and stuff like that. To me, that's the iconic. Yeah, there you go. That's the iconic Tusken Raider to me, outside of Peter Diamond.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, if you can't get that, you go for this. This is the photo match. This is the guy that we scanned when we were doing this. And you can tell his mouth is cocked to one side. His tooth in the middle has a unique carve on it. The wraps of the leather all match up wrinkle for wrinkle because that stuff stayed in place. It really is one of those things where this is a chance for us to match something up and get it as close as we can to, again, it's a behind the scenes thing, but it is our best look at the character. You know, tons of people that make Tusken Raiders base them on this photo series because these are literally the best old photos there were. And until you can, get into the archives and examine one of them up close, it's as close as you're going to get.
Yeah, well, I'm looking at this picture and your bust right now, and it looks exactly alike.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Now, Tom, the reason you casted the mouthpiece for the leather, is that so you could keep the exact wrinkles that were on the... Okay.
Yeah, and that was something where we thought really hard about, like, do we do maybe the perimeter in real leather and the center in faux leather? Do we do the center in resin and the exterior in real leather? And what's interesting is, having done a bunch of Tusken Raiders in the past, leather is really tricky to work with, and it's really tricky to get consistent over a big line, and it's tricky to get to hold in place. All of the real masks keep popping open down here where the leather seams are because it's just the nature of these materials. And we don't want to start introducing big staples or things that aren't on the real mask and would look goofy. So when we had that scan, it was like, okay, let's try this a few different ways. And one of the things we did as a test was we took the raw scan before we even did any cleanup and printed just the mouth section at a small scale. And it was immediately clear. It was like, oh, this is going to work. Like, just like this feels like leather. And then the other thing is, my folks know how to paint. So,
Yeah.
when we take this thing, Patrick Louis painted the first prototype, which is in the photos. But, when he gets in there and does just a few layers of paint on that, it's really tough to tell it's not leather. And even up close, we had people at Celebration who I'd be like, the mouth on that is resin. And they're like, what, the leather there? And it's like, no, the mouth. And yeah, it's just resin. And they're like getting in and like, are you sure? It's like, I'm pretty sure,
Yeah. Well, you fooled me because let me just pull up a picture, and then I got some more questions to ask you. There it is. Holy crap! This is a picture I took.
That's a very wide angle lens on him. He looks like he's.
I know. I'm sorry. It's it's a cell phone.
No, that happens at the show all the time.
He's been eating a lot of Womp Rats.
Yeah,
that's right. He's seen some stuff.
Yeah, but I just wanted to focus on the mouthpiece here. Like you're saying, this is like casted.
Yes, that's all resin. Correct.
That is crazy because I seriously thought it was leather.
Thank you.
And that's like this is really I'm like shocked, like hearing this for the first time.
Yep.
But really quick,
the bandoliers are real leather on it, and
okay.
But the leather on the mouth and the leather on the breather there, the leather wrap, that's all faux. That's all, resin. And again, it's just so that everything's reproducible. So every one of these matches up to that original. We scanned the real prop. Do you forego that to put our own spin on it and hope to get it right? Or are you doing this, the way we're doing it here? Are you sitting there and going like, okay, we can make every one of these the same, and the look is so good that we can even fool PJ.
Well, you did it though. It's amazing.
You did it.
You guys knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, and I was gonna say too, like, I have a ton of questions here, but so the breather mask casted, the eyes are cast, they're aluminum, or metal. They look metal.
They're all real metal. Yes, that's all aluminum, and they're all distressed. It's a little tough to tell in photos, but we go through and we do a 2-pass distressing on those.
Yeah, it looks really good. Really quick, because we have a ton of questions. I just want to address the chat.
No,
we got J2SO, Scott Sharp in the house. There's this guy named Sean Solo.
Yeah.
We got Chasen Haas. What's up, Chasen? We got Flex SW77. Thank you, Flex, for tuning in.
Classic Star Wars name right there. Hey, Scott.
We got Scott Berry in the house. David Ashby. Question for Tom. With the exception of the Tauntaun maquette and full-size head, Empire Strikes Back seems to be the underrepresented in the archive collections. Are there any plans for additional products from Empire? Great question.
Yeah, there's always plans for stuff like that. I think people notice that it's slow to put this stuff out, and that's partly because of the challenge in making this stuff, partly because of all of the hoops you go through as a licensee. And that is a very slow process, and then partly because we don't want to overwhelm the wallets of our customers. We need people to be able to absorb what we're doing, and I don't want to go in and sorry, I keep having to go down. My cat's wandering through, and I'm just
okay. I just thought you had a mosquito bite there.
Little pets every once in a while. But this is the sort of thing where we don't want to just dump a bunch of stuff on people. And then the other thing is we have to make everything. If we were a company where we were getting everything just made overseas or something, we could just sell as much as we want and have other people make it and then just ship it out to folks. But since we make a lot of the stuff here, we go through and want to pace ourselves so that, like right now, the Tuscan is going up for sale, and we're going to start production on those later this year. And we know that our Salacious Crumb are going to be winding down by later this year. So it dovetails nicely. And then by the time that the Tuscan Raider year-long payment plans are finished, we should be right at the tail end of those Tuscan Raiders. So it puts us in a good place in that regard too. But yes, Empire will definitely continue to be represented. You I was gonna say you could put some other picture where he's not as wide angle lens if you'd like.
Sorry.
Tom's like, that
It
bothers
hurts
That
me.
is-
It hurts me, BJ.
I'm
it's
so sorry. I'm so.
but yeah, it's just stay tuned. Obviously, Return of the Jedi is going to be real heavy because that's a lot of what's in the archives. You know, that is the movie that's most heavily represented in the Lucasfilm archives, certainly. But archives can stretch beyond, you know, the actual named archive. It could just stretch into other means of lineage and other ways of getting to original props and things like that. There's other avenues out there, and I'm excited to just keep doing all of this stuff. And yeah, they'll back to the Empire question. Yes, there will be some Empire, but can't say when.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you, Tom, for looking out for our wallets. I think
it's a real thing. No, I
mean, no, because yeah, I mean, Empire Strikes Back. I mean, there's so many things there.
Absolutely, Sean Stone. But I am trying to pace myself. You know.
Yeah. Well, like I said, thank you, Tom, for not only pacing us, but at our wallets too.
Yeah,
so
sure.
We got Dennis Perez in the house. We got Benjamin Bowman. What's up, Ben? Robin is here too.
What's up, guys?
So sick looking sand people. And no mo splendido. Thank you. I got Lucky Jarrett. What's up, Lucky? We got Chris Lord. This looks
Chris.
amazing, Tom.
Thank you.
We got Janine Berry in the house. What's up, Janine? And I think I said what's up to everyone. I love that Tusken Raider. It looks so good. Tom cares for wallet depression. So yes, I mean, Tom, see, that's one thing I was just scared to have you on the show. I'm like getting closer and closer to, you know, loving this thing even more. And that's one thing too, with the Salacious Crumb,
yeah.
I mean, I didn't pre-order it first, like when it first dropped. But I did pre-order it because it's just like, I'm like, oh yes, I love it, but oh my gosh,
yeah.
I just got the Rancor, and okay, I'm gonna get it.
Yeah, but what it is, you've got to build time and the right words to tell your wife, like,
well, that's what it is.
Buy this is $4,000.
Hey, babe, I'm gonna buy a Space Monkey right now.
Right.
Yeah,
unless you're Ken B, who always tells his wife he won the raffle.
Yeah. That's the greatest joke ever. Though. It really
is. He's so lucky, that guy, though. I mean, just constantly winning raffles. It's amazing.
Yeah. Lucky Jared asks, how heavy is this guy? Metal and resin must be weighty.
He is actually surprisingly heavy. That information should be on the website. If you go to any of our web pages and scroll down, and a lot of people don't realize this, we get questions all the time. Keep scrolling. So that's the top is the short description. Then you'll get a wide image. Then you'll get the longer description where we talk about some behind the scenes on the piece. So keep scrolling from
Up.
Here. Nope, the other way. Sorry.
Oh, yeah. Oh, there's more. Oh,
down. There you go. This is the backstory and then the specifications. So it's about 10 pounds. There you go.
About 10 pounds. Okay.
Yeah. And this is always approximate because especially when you're dealing with resin, sometimes things shift a little bit. Sometimes you get a piece that comes out a little heavier than others when you're doing rotocasting and things like that. We try to keep them consistent, but there's always going to be a little room for shift there. But yeah, so, the top of any page on our website tells you the basics. The bullet points, really. Then the middle of the page gives you the in-depth story behind it. It tells you who worked on it, whether it's who worked on it for the movie or sometimes who worked on it for our team, and tells a little bit more about how we, worked our way through this and figured stuff out. And then just below that is the specifications. That's where, on this piece, we're going to finalize the box size soon. So we don't have the shipping box and stuff like that in there yet, but you do have the basic measurements of the piece. 23.5 tall, 15.5 wide, 13.5 deep, and about 10 pounds.
It's surprisingly larger than I think most of us thought it was going to be when you did your live stream on Facebook, and you're sitting next to it.
I'm a tiny person, and it was very close to the camera. No,
it's huge.
It does. It's, when I got on the same plane as it, like I tried to pull it back at one point so you could kind of see us on the same plane, but it is still huge. I mean, you think about this, someone had to wear it. Yeah. There's like a bunch of padding inside like that. It's not a super tight fitting mask. It's not like the prequel Tusken Raiders where they had these, really kind of much tighter masks, much smaller heads in general.
Yeah.
This is that original movie. This is that first movie look. And, when you see him, and when you see him in person, it's the first thing that anybody that walks into the archives and sees those masks say, like, oh, wow, that's bigger than I thought.
Yeah.
And I had always been doing, anytime I had done anything with a Tusken, I had always scaled them and luckily gotten pretty close on it. So like when I saw the real ones, and I'm not trying to pat myself in the back here, although I'll do it. I was like, okay, yeah, we were in the ballpark. Like these are pretty big, but like we were about there. And, seeing the real things in person, it's always eye-opening. I think I'm kind of spoiled because I know a lot of the original Cantina stuff. I own a few of the masks from the movie from years ago. I've seen almost all of the original masks at some point in different collections and things like that. And those original Cantina masks are all monstrously huge. You look at a Duros or a Cantina band member, they don't look big to me anymore. But to anyone that sees them for the first time, they're like, holy cow, like those things are gigantic. And so it's weird. This Tusken Raider doesn't look big to me anymore, but it looks right, which is cool. And I think some of that does come from the size.
Yeah. Look at CZ. He looks dwarfed a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, some of that is perspective, but he definitely feels beefier than CZ does. That's for sure. We did adjust the bib area of this since Celebration. That was one of the things that he felt a little squared off to me in that one. And we did a little bit of rounding off. We pulled the shoulders in just a tiny bit. That's the sort of stuff that we're always looking at. We brought it to the show. It was what we had put together to show there, and just seeing it in the case, it was like I was able to step back from it fresh and look at it with new eyes. And I was just like, me and Rob kept looking at each other and we're like, yeah, we got to pull those shoulders in a little bit. It's like, as soon as we get back to New York,
Do it on the plane.
I got Punisher XS also. What's up, Punisher? Yeah, I mean, Tom, why do you do this to us, Tom? And I was like,
because I want you, PJ, to have the closest thing to the real thing in the archives that you possibly could. That's why I do it.
Tom, I do have another question on the wraps. Did you have enough reference to get the proper technique to wrap?
The Lucasfilm Image Archives have that whole series of promo photos. He's one of my favorites. Thank you, Janine. We actually did, if anybody ever picked up the old Sideshow Cantina band member, that was sculpted by myself and Brian Lewis about 12 years ago at this point. In fact, it was in the room right next to here, which used to be the home office for my other business. And we prototyped the Cantina band member for them. We prototyped their full-size Boba Fett that they do. That came out of our studio. But anyway, off that topic. With the wraps, yes, Lucasfilm has great pictures from that photo series that show us where the wraps were at the time. And the archives one is still pretty well matched from about midway up. From about here down, it started to unravel a bit. But, you could really make out where those things were headed. And between that and then looking through the photos, when I did the wraps on the first prototypes on this, it was, I probably had about 15 photos to work from. Just laid out in front of me. And it was, our photos from the archives, original photos from the Lucasfilm archives for any place that I couldn't see. And I think we're a good 90 to 95% of the way there on those wraps. There's a little bit of interpretation that has to come. But good night, Sean. It's one of those things that, I feel like we've gotten closer than anybody has, and I'm confident to say this is as close as you're going to get.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, this looks like, like exactly what we see in the movie, right?
The fabric, the
fabric. You really fooled me with that leather. I'm so baffled. I'm so sorry. I'm fixated on that. I'm like, are you kidding me? That's resin. I'm like, I know there was a resin part. I thought like his shoulders, like his right.
The underskull of the head is, under the wraps is resin. Obviously the shoulders are resin too. That's a separate piece, so you can turn the head a little bit too.
You can turn their head.
Yes, the head turns left and right. There's no room for tilt. The way that everything wraps underneath, it's just too snug up against the neck.
Mm-hmm.
And we could have had tilt if we did away with his neck, but
Mm-hmm.
then if you start looking a little light bulby, unless you really put the helmet, way down on his shoulders. So we kind of compromised a little on that. I think he actually works without the tilt. I don't think you need like the lost puppy dog Tusken Raider, like,
No.
It's just not the same.
No. And this is signed by Alan Fernandez, and then
That's
he's
right.
the
last of the living Tusken Raiders, as they say.
Wow.
Really, really nice guy. Very excited to have him on this edition. And one of the two guys that did the US pickup shots, all the Bantha shots, all the shots where the guy's jumping off the cliff onto the back of the Bantha and running along the cliff holding his face mask. That was Alan.
Yeah.
Jeez.
He said the mask was cutting into his nose, which I could definitely believe. And he just, he held on to it to try and keep it from hurting him. And that's
really?
the shot they use in the movie.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Okay. It was a low budget thing, right?
Yeah, it's weird because there's watching the Light of Magic, you're like, oh, they used this shot. You're like, what? Really? This way?
Yeah.
It was pretty interesting. Well, I was gonna say, like I know you got a lot of a lot of these actors and sculptors to be on the signature series, right? Like, how's that process work? Do you go over to their house? Do you call them, say, I don't have to go into detail, but like I've talked to some like companies, and they told me with some of their signature series, they'll like go knock on the actors or a house and be like, hey, this is what we're gonna do. Like, are you gonna sign this?
I find if I go to their house and I just bang on the door and I'm like, I know PJ, okay? You know who I am?
Yeah. Or no, PJ sent me. It's like 2
That's
like,
right. Yeah, and then you just hear more locks going on the door.
Yeah.
Padlock,
Yeah.
It depends on the person, depends on how we know them. Some of these I've been very lucky that I've known them for a long time.
Yeah.
And so have been able to do things like just, shoot a text to a friend and say, hey, do you want to do this? Other times it's, a little more of a professional connection, and you'll pitch them the offer, and you say, it's this much to do this, and it should only take about this long, and we can come to you or you can come to us, or whatever works. Every one of them is a little bit different, but luckily they've all been really, everybody's been happy to join us on this stuff. I think part of the thing is that we're going for behind the scenes folks and like giving them a spotlight. And I think that, it makes them a little more approachable in this stuff. They don't necessarily get the offer to do autographs all the time and stuff like that. And I think it's kind of, it's not a charitable thing or anything, but it feels like it's like a nice thing to do for them and for the fans. And I think, to me, especially now that we've turned the maquette line into all having signature editions, and the variety of people that worked on those maquettes, we're very specifically now trying to line up different maquettes from different makers as early as possible in those editions, so that we can get a whole bunch of new people out there that, folks don't have on their shelves all the time. Or maybe they haven't had, someone like a Ken Ralston or one of those who's, legendary visual effects supervisor. Look up Ken Ralston on IMDb. I mean, he's got a Star Wars connection, but his career is insane. And to sit there and go like, wow, okay, this guy also sculpted Weequay. Oh, there's Monster. Hey, buddy. This guy also sculpted Weequay. This guy also, designed a whole bunch of these characters. And now I'll get to, he's going to make me open the blinds. Now I'll be able to, get his signature in this run. And that's something that, is just not out there. There's just not a place to go and do that.
Well, and that's why I just, the reason why I brought it up, because
he's all over the Industrial Light and Magic documentary as well. With his home movies and everything, and the weird animated hot dog and stuff. Like, it's just amazing stuff.
Yeah, I mean, and like I said, like, I just want to say thank you for doing this for us, because it makes it easier for me if I wanted to get a signature of some of these, like, is Phil Tippett doing a con anytime soon? Right. I mean,
it does sometimes,
no, like,
but usually not. Like, yeah. not big signings
Yeah,
and things like that. Yeah. Yeah,
exactly.
you're
But
not going to go to a con and see these guys, and it's kind of sad. Like they, some of the older cons they used to have. That's how I got to meet people like John and Dennis early on was through.
Dennis
I got to know them ahead of the con, but then like going at the con and getting to meet them and hang out and stuff like that's how a lot of really great relationships started. Even in terms of collectors, I know, and other makers and things like that. But yeah, they used to have more of the behind the scenes guys at the conventions doing autographs and stuff. And I always thought that was super cool. And if it's not available to folks, I'm happy that it's something that we can help to make available.
Yeah. Nice that you get the corresponding piece with it too. So
it
tells the
exactly
tells the whole story.
That's right.
Yeah, and that's why, like I said, like when I was watching The Light and Magic, I look at my Regal robot and I'm like, thank God I got Phil Tippett's signature on that. That is amazing. This is just makes it even more special.
Yeah.
We do have a question. Far from Death Stars asking, Wicked Bust signature edition Warwick Davis in the future? Question mark.
Question mark.
Ooh,
dude. No comment.
I mean, here's the thing. There's so many busts that we want to do.
Yeah.
Here, I mean, I've been doing this. Regal Robot's been around over 5 years now, and we still haven't done a Cantina alien. I'm the Cantina guy. Like I'm the guy who's like sculpted all this stuff and got called in anytime they needed this stuff. And yet here we are, all these years in, and haven't gotten one of those in there yet. And it's for all the reasons we talked about before. So yeah, Wicked, sure, would love to. When? Not sure. And I don't want to promise something because I don't know when. I know we have 2 other busts and 1 other bust like archive piece that are lined up and will be coming. So that's 3 pieces. If we're on this kind of pace we're on, that could be, easily 2 to 3 years just for those 3 because we're not trying to overwhelm folks.
Overwhelm us, Tom. Overwhelm us.
Yeah.
I'm
and we're trying not to overwhelm us. But I do think, if we're talking about Tuscan just went up now, could we get another bust out in early 2023 while the Tuscan is still in the midst of its payments? We probably could. And it would also be something where we could then have 6 months to finish out production on the Tuscans. And then at that point, start on production on whatever that next bust is. We're constantly scaling up. We're constantly building capacity for ourselves, either in-house or bringing in partners that we're working with so that we can do more. Will the pace increase? Probably. Will it be like, oh, we're going to do a bust every month? Definitely not. People couldn't handle it, As much as everybody wants that, we want to be able to get these into people's collections. And if everybody's money is tied up, that doesn't help anyone.
Yeah. Plus you have the gaffy sticks coming out as well.
Exactly. And that's a consideration. Those are not on the same level as this Tuscan, but they're about halfway there, maybe even a little more. And those initially the Tuscan was going to be midsummer and it wound up being kind of late summer. And the gaffies were going to be late summer. And now those will probably be early fall.
Okay.
And a little bit of that was changing both of those to signature editions and having to sort that end of it because I don't like to announce that we're doing a signature edition with something until I have those plaques in hand.
Yeah.
Which is great. Yeah.
Just to be safe. Yeah. With that set us back a little bit. And also we were doing back and forth on design for the production of the stands for the gaffy sticks and figuring out what those were going to be and how we could produce them and how we could get them at a price that made sense for what we were doing. Well, and we did hit on that, but it took about, that took a good 6 or 8 weeks to figure out.
Wow. What a great segue. Guess what I have?
What?
A picture of, and they're not,
those are not the final stands.
And they're not wide angle shots. I hope.
That's very nice. No, I appreciate that. You know what's neat here? Take a look at the difference between the Mandalorian Tuscan and the Peter Diamond Tuscan on the left. Just look at the head size difference in those photos. And it really shows you what those vintage masks were.
Look at that. So you got the mask, the Mandalorian on the right, and we got the
and the Mando ones are very similar to the prequel Tuscans. Very, very tight to the face, very snug. It's just a totally different thing. And it's, unless you've had the originals in your hand, you don't even think about it.
So my question
Mhm.
is, the stands are not final.
Correct.
Will they be coming with stands?
Yes. So each
Yes.
one is going to come
You
with
are the
an
man.
individual stained black wood stand, technically painted, but there's a wood grain on it, texture
Mhm.
wise.
Yeah.
It will have a wide bottom piece, 2 blocks, and 2 uprights that slot in. It'll be a no screw assembly. It'll go together in 2 minutes, and it'll ship not entirely flat, but mostly flat, so that we don't have to have a huge box going out in the mail. Um, and they're pretty cool. We're going to be doing our final website photos of those probably this week. And
Give it to
then
me.
it's just a long process of getting all the approvals and everything after that, so that we can put them up for sale. I don't know that we have a date on them yet. We want to give people a
Oh,
breather after the Tuscan, but
it's okay.
if I had to guess, I would say early October.
Okay. All right. So that is
Well, maybe mid-October, but
yeah.
at least 4 weeks from now, probably closer to 6 weeks, because we do have the one maquette coming out. That'll probably be the 4 week mark.
Yeah.
We also still have we have a new magnet coming out based on Obi-Wan. It's a small one, but that'll come out next week. We have another magnet that's coming out for New York Comic Con, which we're not going to be at, but we'll do an exclusive from home for folks to get just that weekend only. That's based on something from Force Awakens, and the sequels, that'll be around for 4 days, October 6th through the 9th. So I would guess, if I had to guess, these would be after that exclusive, because otherwise it would just get real crowded trying to tell folks what we're doing. They'd be getting emails from us every day.
Did you read my show notes? Because I feel like everything's going by it's like according to plan. I'm like, I was like, wait, Tuscan, I'm gonna segue. I'm like, wait a minute, how did Tom know my show? But anyway, great, that's gonna go up.
The camera that I installed in the Rancor paid off.
Oh jeez, oh my gosh.
I told you to wear pants, PJ.
Oh good Lord.
Would you please?
You must have been blind like half the time watching me. But anyway, well, all right, so the going back to the gaffy sticks, they're gonna be going up for sale beginning of October, hopefully. When will they be able to, they be ready for it to be shipped? Like guesstimating.
I would probably put that we'd start shipping them Q1 2023 and go from there. Most of the stuff we're doing is going to be very small batches. Like Salacious Crumb, we're doing about 12 or 15 at a time. Right now, I think they've got 17 in the shop that they were laying out. They were starting to paint the fingernails today, which is one of the first steps in the paint processes. So that is something where we're really usually more like 12 at a time on those. These, I figure, will be in a similar place, but the way that we're producing them may allow us to get a little faster than that. What I would like to do is have it be where folks can order it. About 6 months later, they start shipping to the folks that paid in full, and then as the payment plans get paid off, we have them ready to go, so that they just jump right out as we can on shipping them. With Salacious, we're a little behind that pace, and part of that was because the Hollow Chess was a bigger seller than we thought on the 2-packs, and so that delayed the casting of the Salacious parts a couple of months. So that and Salacious is actually kind of complicated. There's a bunch going on.
Yeah,
but, yeah. Well, I was telling Sean I paid that off like a couple months ago. I'm like, where's my Salacious?
You're coming.
But you know what though?
It'll be something where like the same 3 or 4 people are working on them. You know what I mean? It's like, it's sometimes hard for people to picture, because they figure like, oh, this is a big licensee. They must go, the things are coming out of factories. Someone pushes a button and Salacious Crumb falls off of a machine. Like, no, these are being, rotocast or pressure cast for, or you're solid casting the arms and legs. You're casting the tail. You're pulling things out of a mold by hand. You're painting them. You're doing washes and layers over top of that by hand. You're wiping stuff on, wiping stuff off, gluing hair on, airbrushing, and it's not a giant assembly line of 30 people. It's like 4 people, it's like 5 people. And it's people that work on this stuff all the time, and who a lot of times are people who restore the original props from the movies when they come through, and have seen and held the originals in the archives, and it gives us that way to ensure that what we're doing stays to the level I want it.
Yeah, and that's one thing too, is that like that's why I think I mentioned a lot of that reasoning for why I love your company is that it's made in the USA, right? Number one, and number two is that it comes with a lot of TLC, a lot, and you got the best QC guy in the planet to look at your stuff to make sure it's good before it gets shipped out. His name's Tom Spina. It's not like some random guy that's like, hey, I think that looks good.
Yeah, if it passes my test, it's definitely there. We're actually there. I was QCing the latest batch of the Chewbacca busts today, and it's to the point where like I'll look in and just kind of be like, okay, he needs like 6 more hairs around here. He needs a little more right there. Like I really get into the nitty gritty on these things and make sure that every one of these that leaves is to our standard, feels like the real thing, and is going to make someone look at it on their shelf and just on that Chewie fall in love every time. Look into his big baby blue eyes there, the Peter Mayhew sad eyes that he's got, and just go like, there it is.
Sure, you didn't read our show notes.
I think he read them.
He read our show notes. Hold on.
I declare bankruptcy.
That's usually our call sign of what's going to be happening in like 2 minutes. Sean, if you want to take this away, sir.
Yeah, let me share my screen real quick.
Let's
see what we're gonna do.
By the way, we do have something special happening in like maybe 30 seconds.
Yeah, I wanted to do this with Tom on the show.
Oh boy.
So there's the Chewie bust, which Tom knows well. Which we did a poll on the Sithcast Facebook group. Do we go with the roaring bust or the normal bust? And I have decided today, live on the show, I will be getting the standard bust. I will be ordering live on the show.
Wow.
I will be going view to cart, and I will not be putting my credit card information in on the show.
Right. Yeah, that you might want to do off screen.
Yeah.
But yes, so Tom, I've been talking about this for, I don't know, the last 6 months, how the Chewie bust, once I first saw it, I fell in love with that thing. Mm-hmm. And then now, like any collector, I start off with 3 3/4. I go to Hot Toys. Now I'm getting out of Hot Toys and more into prop replicas.
Yeah.
And this thing's been on my radar since it came out. So now
since
today,
I've known you, right?
Yeah. Since we started doing the show, I was like, Chewie bust. And I know everyone in our audience is like, dude, shut up and buy it. So I promise you.
That's weird. I say the same thing all the time. Yeah. That's
yeah. So we're going to go ahead and,
you can proceed to checkout on your own screen there.
That's what I'm doing. I'm free, right? Yeah.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah.
Dude, thank you very much. That means a lot. I love seeing these things go to good homes. I think it's just.
And I heard I heard a little birdie told me too that you guys might have a few of them that you're working on now that you're going to put up. So that was another reason I'm like, if I don't have to wait so long, I'm definitely.
Yeah, we were doing cut and style on them today.
Yeah.
So there is there's probably the best possible timing you could have had.
I'm telling you, it's great. And I'm paying in full, so just ship it out right away.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say,
Katie will be all over that tomorrow. You'll get a message from her right away, and I am 90% sure of the ones they're doing right now. There's at least one that is not spoken for.
Beautiful. It's coming. It's going in right now.
Well, I was going to say this, seriously, Tom, ever since I've known Sean since last year, that's all he talked about. And I was like, oh my God.
So Sean, you're just glad he's going to stop talking about it? Or do you think he's going to get it and talk about it more?
Well, I hope he would talk. Once he gets it, I hope we can check it out on the show and do some close-ups of the Chewie bust.
Yeah. Big wide angle shots.
Big wide angle shots. We're like, what the hell's going on here? But you know what though? It's just this is seriously like all awesome, Sean. I know you've been looking at this.
I'm like giddy typing all this information, knowing that I'm finally buying it.
And by the way,
certainly happy that you're doing it, but I am happy for you more so even than me at this point.
I'm grinning like it's Christmas.
Yeah, I know the feeling of this. I'm a collector. I do the same exact thing. I know that grin. I know that feeling of like, oh yeah, here it is. You know,
I love it.
Yeah, and mind you, I just want to wish my co-host a happy. Well, his birthday was yesterday. Happy belated birthday!
Happy birthday! There you go.
What a great.
What a great gift I bought for myself.
Yeah.
What I'll tell you this is they will send you a link that is me showing how to style our old Chewy bust, which is the same basic idea. But what I'll tell you is he's going to come with plastic bag head.
Yeah.
That just happens on this. He gets real slick down, and what you've got to do is just dig in with your fingers and literally kind of go like that around the top of his head and just fluff all that up. You got to give him a little bit of height, and then he starts looking right. And then same on the cheeks, fluff those cheeks out, pull the hair from the chin, the bib, make sure that's pulled out and really loose. And then just same thing on the torso section. Just go through with your fingers and just kind of run them through and really fluff them up. Don't be afraid to get in there. Don't be afraid to dig on it. As long as you're avoiding the center face, you're in good shape.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say, I have the Rancor, I have the Salacious. I most likely probably have at least one Gaffy stick, and probably the Tuscan. But the Chewy bus is probably one of the ones I need in my collection. You can't have a Star Wars collection without Chewbacca, and this is the most realistic Chewbacca.
Thank you.
Collectible ever. And
it's another one that's tough to photograph. It is something where it looks more real in person. Something about him smooths out on the hair. I think the way that the hair catches light when you see it in person just feels more like the costume in a way. And that was another one. A lot of folks at the show said we had a couple of people. We had one guy who bought it on site at the show because he had never gotten to see it before in person. And as soon as he saw it, he was like, okay, sold, there we go.
Yeah.
Thank you, David. That's a good collection too. So that means a lot. Thanks, man.
Yeah. It's beautiful. I definitely need it in my collection. Nomo, you are amazing. Everyone's saying congratulations.
Oh, thank you. Sorry guys, I can't see you because I'm checking out.
Yeah. He's not checking out. He's checking out. But again, this will be forever continuing, right? Tom, like with
the edition. Until you can't ever say anything's forever, but right now we don't have an intention of closing the edition size. It's a weird one for us because initially we were pretty sure that the price alone would kind of set the exclusivity on this. And it wasn't like we said, oh, we're going to make it expensive. We said we're going to make it as cheap as we possibly can based on how we make these things, which I know sounds silly when you're talking about something like this, but it really is an effort on our part, on everything we do, to be like, okay, how can we not compromise, but make this, what's the lowest price we can get this to without compromising? And so with this, where we came in at the price, we were just kind of like, okay, do we set an edition size, or do we say, you know what, at this price, it's going to set its own level, and it wound up, it's sold pretty well considering, but without that like big lump that you get, like we sold over 90 of those Tuscan busts this morning,
Holy when crap. Oh, thank you. Now I have an idea of how much time I have left. Holy crap.
I think those might hang on for a bit, but I think
you said that about the Rancor, sir.
I did say that. I say that about everything.
I remember you saying that to me
when it comes to that stuff.
You're like, it's going to be around for like a month. And less than a week later, it sold out.
Yeah. Well, we try, what we're trying to do on all of this stuff, there's just two things. One, we try and make everything the lowest price we can, which again, I know sounds ridiculous, but then we try to make the edition size as high as we can for what we're able to make and what we think the price will bear out. And the goal is always to keep these things around for a little bit. The goal is to have a website where people can buy things, not a website where people can go look at pictures.
Yeah.
And luckily we have all the decor and all the other stuff. So I think on like something like this, and even the Tauntaun, it's maybe a big enough piece and a piece where the price point is high enough that you can say, hey, let's just leave this as an open edition for now. And, should we ever feel we're getting to the end of the run, we will announce that.
Oh,
and
thank God.
I would say for sure, as something that's not a numbered edition, that we would say something like, hey, you've got 60 days to get your orders in. Hey, you've got 30 days to get your orders in. Hey, there's a week left. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
I don't see that happening anytime soon for this, but if the end comes for this, when the end comes for this, that's the way it'll go.
Well, I was gonna say you'll be surprised. You'll get like a huge wave of collectors just coming out the woodworks trying to. And that's one thing about Star Wars collectors I've noticed is that, and I do it too. Trust me, I did it with Salacious Crumb. I'm like, I'm gonna hold out. Oh my gosh! And then next thing you know, it's like only have 10 left.
Oh.
And it's just like,
I know, I got it.
you did it.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited.
Let Sean win.
Yeah, let the Wookiee win.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna. That's my cry for Sean, because this is truly
thank you very much, Sean.
Special,
I appreciate the purchase. The crew appreciates it.
Yeah,
we thank you for giving some of our work a home.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for all your research, development, for the whole crew, because it's not just you; it's the whole team that makes it happen
every time. Now,
awesome.
This last batch, Ricky and Sydney have been doing the hair work on them. And they both just knock it out of the park, and it's always exciting to see these come together.
Yeah.
And every day you come in and it's funny that the hair migrates in from the outside, and it's just like a little closer. And as it gets close to the nose, like, okay, we're almost there. We can almost cut and style these guys and get them out.
That's awesome.
Tomorrow, Sydney will be on them with a curling iron most of the day. She'll be doing all the styling on these guys, and then some hairspray, and they'll get wrapped up.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, congratulations, Sean.
Thank you.
This is a very, very special moment, and
it was a very fun surprise.
Yeah,
that's what I was telling you backstage. Very, 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 very soon. It's like it's gonna happen.
You did say, you were like, yeah, I'm gonna probably get that very soon. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, sure, no problem.
Yeah,
got it.
Yeah,
and like I said,
PJ,
Tom,
did you want to buy one of those Tuscan busts while we're on camera, like right there? Not putting you on the spot.
Man.
But,
it's tempting, PJ.
I mean, otherwise Sean is just showing you up. I mean, I didn't want to say it, but
don't worry. Once it's, I'm most likely, Tom. Why do I? No, just kidding. No, but
it's my Svengali-like ways. If you look really closely, my eyes are actually spirals, and that's how we do this.
Oh yeah, no, you don't. It's definitely in the,
PJ.
I'm trying to convince myself not to, but I most likely will.
PJ, like we always
Do it.
Oh yeah, I know.
Who controls the drop-ins? Do you each have the ability to do that?
Yeah,
that's fine.
What I was gonna say too is that with that being said, that's one thing with these busts is that, like, in anything collectible, is that once you announce or anything's like low stock or about to be sold out, or you're closing down the run, people, like I said, come out of the woodwork and start like jumping on. FOMO is afraid of missing out, and it's one of those things. Is like they always had it in the back of their minds, but then when someone says, "Hey,
it's
we're
not
closing
gonna be
it,"
there.
It's not going to be there. Then just like it clicks. It's like
I'm a collector. I get it. I've been in so many auctions where I go in thinking like, well, I'm only going to go to about here. And then like, as the auction goes, I'm like, okay, well, I could sell this and I could sell that. And then I could get to here. No, I could sell this and that and I can get to here. And if I could skip a car payment and get to here. It's just you start making deals with yourself. And then, like if you don't win the auction, it's okay. But then if you win it, you're like, okay, I told myself I was going to sell this. But if I pick up a couple extra shifts, I can make up a little bit extra money. I probably don't have to sell that. I can keep both of these.
Yeah, and it's great to hear that too. I mean, I'm not saying that like it's great. Oh my gosh, you're going, but it's cool that you're going through that same type of scenarios as us collectors too.
Oh, I am. I've been collecting since I was a kid. Like I collected the Star Wars figures. I collected GI Joes. I collected the LJN rubber wrestlers and stuff like that. Like, I mean, I had Transformers. I had He-Man. By He-Man, I was just kind of scaling out, and then I kept a lot of it when I was a kid, which was great. I got rid of the Transformers, which was dumb. Those are worth a lot of money now. But
I know.
But I loved the Dinobots and the Constructicons were my favorites. The Dinobots because they were dinosaurs, and Constructicons because they went together like a Voltron.
Yeah.
So I would collect that stuff. Dom Post masks. I used to love those. I would save every penny I could to buy a $30 mask at the magic shop in the mall, and that transitioned later into collecting replica props. And the weird thing with replica props was there wasn't a place to get them. So, I would collect stuff by making it. I wanted replicas of the Muppets, so I made them. I wanted replicas of lightsabers, so I made them, and it started out with making them out of chunks of plastic and pipes and things I find at a hardware store. And then eventually, in the mid to late 90s, you start getting Brandon Allinger's site out there, parts of Star Wars, the RPF comes of age, and you start getting like Chris has seen Twinkie the Kid on my shelf behind me in the office. Me and Twinkie have a very special relationship. But I would sit there and go from like, okay, now I've got a hardware prop that I've put together. Now I've got a Graflex because I found out what a Graflex was. And now I've got a saber that's made of the real parts. Like, that's pretty cool. Or, there was no place to get the monsters from the cantina. So it's like, well, I know how to sculpt and make rubber masks. Let me make them because that's the stuff I've always wanted. Even as a kid, I always had a wall full of heads, and through my teenage years, I was sculpting all the time, making masks and things like that. Through the 90s, all the time. There's, most of the stuff in my basement, you've probably seen the pictures. It's just that wall of, you saw the show you were talking about. They kept showing that wall full of masks. Those are just stuff I made, all the masks I made. And it grows out of wanting to have this stuff. Wanting to make this stuff is its own thing. And there's a bunch of that, but like learning how to make stuff came from wanting to have it. And it's like, I want to collect this. I can't get it. I just better teach myself how to do this so that I can do that. And whether it's props, masks, guitars, cats, I collect stuff, and that's just kind of what happened.
But see, here's the thing: what people don't realize, right? When they look at, you're a collector, dude, everyone's a collector. My wife, she doesn't know it. Yeah. She doesn't know it, but she collects shoes.
Right.
Trust me, if I show you like,
hey, if guys can collect sneakers, girls, women can collect shoes. Like that's a thing. You could just own it.
It's a thing. People, it's just one thing that it gives us balance of the force, right? It just makes us our life, like things that we grew up with. No one wants to get old. No one wants to go, forget those cartoons. I hated that. I like them, but I'm too old for that. No one wants to say that. You sound like a grumpy old man, Yeah.
So you can, like I'll throw the Muppet Show on any day. That is classic stuff. And for me, like at work, I have, so there's a shelf of stuff that's filled with prototypes of our stuff and things like that. Yeah. And usually that's where people look in the background of our videos to try and find what's coming next.
Oh, I trust me, I was looking at the
but there's also just a shelf of like, this is stuff that makes Tom happy shelf. You know what I mean? It's like there's stuff that you get. There's stuff that you get because you want to have the whole line. There's stuff that you get because it's part of a type of thing you're collecting. Yeah. It's like, I got this mask, even though it's not a Star Wars mask, but I love masks, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But then there's stuff that's just like, hey, there's a Twinkie the Kid action figure, and I really liked Twinkies as a kid, and I might still love them now. And I like, what? That would look cool on my little shelf with my, first movie Terminator and a little Gremlin figure and some Marvel figures from the Reaction collection because they just remind me of old toys, even though that they're not really like the old toys. Like that kind of stuff. I just look at it and I get a huge smile on my face. And it's like, oh my gosh, like that is just like these moments of pure joy. And then when you get something big, like if I get, it's rare that I pick up a big collectible anymore because I'm mostly collecting screen use props. Screen use collectors don't buy stuff every month unless you are on a very different level.
Yeah.
Most of us are regular guys. It's like I have it's an irregular job, but it's not, it's like when it comes to money, it's like, I got a regular gig, but you could, when you do get something new, whatever that price is, it's like you do that thing where you put it in the place and you go like, yeah, I think that's where it's going to go. I'm going to set it up. Maybe I'll put a picture behind it. Okay, that's pretty cool. Maybe you get a case for it. And then you do that thing where you like walk out of the room and you walk back in and you look at it again, you're like, oh yeah, it is still there. That's actually kind of cool. Or like you turn away and you look back and you're like, nope, I got to turn the head. It's got to go this way, and like you experience it more so than just have it,
Yeah. And I was gonna say, that's where I am in my collecting right now. So there's been a lot of times where I'm like, oh, okay, I'm buying this because it's Star Wars.
Right.
But now I'm like, and I talked about it in a previous couple episodes ago, where right now I'm in that point in my collecting career. This is, of course,
yes, you're collecting
journey, collecting journey. Where
there you go.
I'm like, buy nice or buy twice, right?
Right.
So when Sean buys that Chewbacca bust, well, not when he bought it.
Yeah. It's bought. Paid for.
He's not gonna look at like a $20 collectible and say, oh, he has the best collectible, Chewbacca collectible in the world.
Thank you.
I'm not just saying that. It is.
It really is.
Wrong. Prove me wrong, unless it's screen use prop, obviously.
Right. Which would probably be in a different price range.
Yeah. I'm not buying that one on the show.
Yeah. I mean, wait, what's the? David Bordeaux. He sent me an article where someone bought a Han Solo blaster prop for like $1 million. I don't know if you saw that, Tom or Sean.
And I think there's some, the parts of Star Wars guys kind of really dug into that too. It's an interesting piece because really the stuff that screen matches is the scope and a part of the scope mount, and the rest comes from the same place that made them. But it's hard to say, definitively on the rest of it. And the auction house was, open about that. But anytime you're dealing with screen use stuff, there's always asterisks, And it's kind of cool when you get pieces that don't have those. When you're a screen use collector, that's the goal. You want the stuff where there's no asterisks, where there's you can draw a straight line from the set to you, whether it's through other collectors or through an auction that came, with direct contact with the studio, or from the person who made it for the movie, maybe, or whatever. It's similar to the way lineage works on the collectible side. It's like, how direct can we get that line to the real piece, so that people aren't just getting a recreation of something or an interpretation of something. They're getting, a true replica of that thing. And, replica in the sense of like a replicated version of it. There's always interpretation. I mean, anytime you do a replica, there's physical hands on it. The paint's going to change a little bit, or there's always going to be certain things that will change along the way. But how tight can you get it? How close can you get it? How can you take that and make things? Sometimes you've got to take something where maybe it'd be unpalatable. Maybe the paint is too rough on the original. It's like, do you change that, or do you keep it rough? And that's where our instinct is always to go as accurate as possible, as real as possible, and try to minimize idealization.
Yeah, and like I said, like everyone collects differently. There's no right or wrong way to collect. For me right now, like I said, it's just in terms of space, it's just so hard. Star Wars is at an all-time high right now because we got all these shows, all these content that's coming out, we got Andor coming out. It's just kind of like overwhelming, and like I said, like I'm at that point where I'm just like, okay, I want something like that is the best, right?
Focus on statement pieces.
And
that happens with all kinds of collectors, man. I mean, I've seen it with action figure collectors where they start to dial in, and initially they want everything, and then they're like, well, I just want the rare variants, or I just want a focus of a certain character and all the different examples of that, or molds and tooling and prototype stuff. Pardon me. Or in the screen use community, you get people, they always come out of the gate wide. They're always like, I want one thing from every favorite show of mine I've ever had. And it's like, I don't care what it is. I just want something from that show. And then eventually they realize, like, what I really want is something good that is a nice direct connection to that show. And that every time I look at it, it's going to spark that connection.
Exactly.
And you can't just grab everything for that. You have to be a little bit particular. You have to be, discerning when you're doing that. And that's just, it's maturing as a collector. PJ, you're maturing. You're growing in front of our own eyes.
Yeah, we know, which is funny.
Who
could have ever seen this coming?
I'm a big boy now. But you know what it is?
I want to be a real boy.
Exactly. But it's funny because someone else did say that. It's like, oh, you're maturing as a collector. And it just hit me. It just says that, like, collecting is definitely a journey. It's like life, right? Like everyone has different stages in their lives where, and I associate that with collecting, like where we started off, where we're like, give me. Now you're like, oh shoot, I ran out of space, or I'm like,
what can I sell?
What can I sell?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I need the newest piece. Oh, they came out with a 2.0. Okay, I gotta get that. 3.0. I gotta get that.
Yeah.
5.0.
How many times have I bought Darth Vader? Like that kind of thing.
Yeah, where you're like, you know what? This will be like the best representation. This is to me, it's
is the best one for you. Sometimes you get people where they want the most idealized Vader, and others where they want the roughest, most A New Hope-y Vader they can get, and that's always that kind of toss-up. Yep, totally.
Yeah. And like I said, like, I really want to say, Tom, you say your company's been around. Well, Regal Robot's been around for 5 years. It was around Celebration Orlando, right? It was
Celebration Orlando. Yeah, 2017 was the official on the books debut of the
Regal,
of the brand and of the website and all of that. It all started that first day of that convention, and our first sales were handing people those little mini skulls and the big skulls that we made and stuff like that at the show.
Yeah.
With barely any stock to sell. We had made as many as we could. I think we did like 300 of those skulls, and we sold out so fast. But it was like, we were just painting them as fast as we could at the studio. Like, we got to get as much of this here as we can so that we don't have to mail a bunch of stuff after the show. But how cool was it to do it at that show, to make a big splash? We had the Dubak sofa that just showed that we wanted to do crazy stuff too. Yeah. We had the Han Carbonite table there. We had the Asteroid coffee table there. We had the director chairs and all of that stuff there. And it was just, it was a special time. It does make me, I remember thinking back and going, we should have launched the website the week before, because doing both of those things and doing the website remotely was a challenge. We had all kinds of hiccups and stuff getting that website out, but it was a really cool thing. And that's now over 5 years ago. That was 2017 in April was the 5th anniversary of our debut. Our company anniversary actually started almost a year before that with Disney, when we got the license and started working on that process. And it just goes to show, even with, not a huge number of products at the time, it's a long process getting stuff through on the license side and doing everything the right way and making sure you're getting all the approvals and stuff. It takes time, and it is no small part of the pacing that we have, in addition to all the other stuff we were talking about before.
Yeah. And that's one thing too. I was talking to Sean about this, like when I got to, like I said, work at San Diego Comic-Con, and I got to see like a lot of these companies and how hard they work to get the licensing, what companies go through to sell the products that we want to collect. It is a rigorous process, and I give you guys a lot of credit. Licensing alone must be just frustrating.
It's at times it's just it's a time eater. I mean, look, It is the cost of doing things the right way, and it affords us an ability to a level of access for sure to this stuff that we would not get otherwise.
Absolutely,
for sure. That's probably the number one biggest benefit, and the great support of Disney and Lucasfilm, especially our Lucasfilm folks are so great, so supportive. They work really, really hard with us to make every one of these editions the best it can possibly be, and we're lucky that our standards are as high as they are, because I think it stops a lot of the negative interactions that maybe some companies have in the process of licensing and approvals. And again, pat on the back for literally the whole team for that part of it. But it's also the fact that we've built a great relationship over 5 years with these people. We know the folks that we're doing our approvals with. We know the folks that we're developing product with, and they know us. And, are there times where they think we're out of our mind for wanting to do, CZ3 or the cut off limbs of Star Wars as magnets and things like that? Sure. But they give us a lot of leeway, and they let us explore and play and do stuff in the areas where we know we can be the most us. That's the key. Everything that's on our website, it's rare that you look at anything on our website and think, oh, someone else could have made that. That's our goal. Our goal is you look at the website, and whether it's the Rancorable decor there, the Rancor switch magnet with the skull that comes with it, the Revenge of the Jedi plaque, not just a Return of the Jedi logo, like digging in and getting the cool stuff. That's what you're going to get with us. All the Mythosaur skulls and all of that stuff. You're not seeing that with your average collectible company. You're not seeing that come from a lot of the bigger companies. And there's a lot of stuff that we do because, there's no big company that's going to be able to do 10,000 Rancor Corbels. But we can come in and do a couple hundred of them and make a lot of people happy with a really unique piece that's a real deep cut off of the set in the sail barge, and it happens to also be scanned off the real prop, which is just great. And other companies aren't going to be able to do that because they have, a certain degree of overhead they have to meet, or every product has to get a certain amount of money out of it to make it worth them doing. We can take advantage of the fact that we're a small company, and that we can follow our passion a little bit and actually do some stuff that, there's plenty of stuff on there that's like, some of this stuff is just for us, folks. You know what I mean? It's like, we're doing this because we want to see it happen. It's my journey as a collector. I wanted a holo chess set, and the only way I was going to get it is if I made it. And so, maybe lucky for a bunch of other folks that I did, because then they got to have one too.
Yeah. And I was going to say too, is that, 5 years ago, that's when I first fell in love with your company. And I'm not saying that just to say that because you're here.
Yeah, you were on very early. Absolutely.
I mean, like, I remember walking like Orlando, the convention hall. First of all, I was tired because I couldn't figure out how to get into the convention hall.
Oh man, big. Right? You could walk like a mile before finding the right entrance.
Yeah, we're like, whoa, finally. Anyway, I'm walking around. And I'm like, and then all of a sudden I hear like, it was like, like almost like a movie where it's like, whoa. It's like you're like thirsty, and then all of a sudden in the middle of the Sahara Desert, you
an
see
oasis of Star Wars.
You're like, oh, whoa. Well, it was the Dewback. It was the Dewback sofa,
yeah.
And I was just like, Dewback is like my favorite animal creature, and I'm like, oh my gosh, someone made a sofa out of this? Like, and
it's a ridiculous idea.
Yeah, but it's amazing, but it just like the evolution.
If you go to the custom furniture studio, if anybody wants to hit the shop link, you could probably even find that in the completed projects.
Yeah.
Down lower.
Look at that. What is that?
This one right here.
There you go.
Yeah. Memories of that booth. But the evolution of your company and what it has what has become right now, giving us the furniture, the Star Wars furniture that we want to have in our house,
Thanks.
and it's nice enough where significant others now, like, what the hell did you buy?
Yeah, honey, I got a do-back couch.
Oh, by the way, I bought this do-back couch. Where are we gonna put this? No, but it's just like
if you in the custom furniture link, we've got the new Cantina chairs came out, and like you could put those in a mid-century modern room, and they would just look at home, and the movie chairs are kind of loosely based on this mid-century chair that was available in I guess it's really more of a 60s thing if I'm thinking of the right one.
No,
but
Tom,
yeah.
Excuse me, I didn't mean to interrupt. I was going to say, do you have a table that you're making that possibly you could put in between those?
So we've done those custom. Right now, we don't have a really viable way to make those tables as a repeatable thing in a low run scenario where they're not too expensive. Okay. So right now we've done them as custom pieces. There's photos on the site of a guy's custom room that we did with all kinds of Cantina stuff. There's some of those tables in there. We've done a few for some other custom customers. They are, because they're literally handmade. They're carved out of rigid foam, spray coated, hand sanded, coated again, hand sanded. They take tons and tons of time. They run a couple $1,000s each, a few thousand. But if the day comes where we can figure out a way to make molds for that at that size without breaking the bank, it's going to be, then it's something maybe where we can get that into, a lower price point and make more of them. But it's something that's never going to sell at the point where it makes doing those giant molds viable.
Right.
It's the sort of thing where maybe you can get 40 or 50 castings out of a big set of molds like that. But I don't know that even if they're $1,000 a table instead of $2,000 or $3,000 a table, are you still going to be able to, are you going to be able to sell that many? Probably not. So you're going to have to take the cost of that big giant mold and divide it over, do you sell 10 of them? Do you sell 20 of them? A lot of people don't realize with this furniture, this is all made in the USA. It's all made to order. It is, so when we're doing these things, the fabricators are literally making like 2 or 3 chairs at a time, 4 or 5 chairs at a time. We are not selling hundreds of these. We're not selling thousands of these.
Right.
Even in the long run, if we're selling 30 to 50 of each of these chairs, that's probably a lot for us. These are made as special edition pieces, as each one is basically a one-off as they do them.
Yeah.
And it is, that's the reason we get people who ask like, oh, well, why isn't it, $300? And it's like, well, one, it's very high quality, it's very comfy, and it is made in the USA. That alone right there eliminates a lot of that. It's also licensed, and it is made as a to-order thing. That's a very different place than, hey, we ordered 10,000 of these from overseas and we can sell them for $200 at every Staples. That's just not in the cards for this stuff. It wouldn't be the kind of draw for this. As much as we think we're all normal and there's lots of people that want this stuff, the reality is we're all a little weird for wanting this stuff. And I like to think it makes us cool, but the rest of the world will have its own feelings about that.
Yeah. By the way, shout out to the Spice Runners Lounge, Eben.
Yeah,
I got to hang out with him last.
Collection. Love those. Those shots are beautiful.
Yeah, so I got to hang out with him last Friday, and him and I were talking about the chairs, and he's like, "Dude, I love the chairs. That's awesome. It's so comfortable, and it's just like the quality is high. It's high quality." Thank you. I'm so happy for him. I'm so happy for you because these chairs were at Celebration.
That's right.
When everyone was getting interviewed and the main stage.
Yeah.
I was like,
we did those for the stage. We did the giant skull for the stage.
Yeah.
We did the Beskar table for the stage. We did a bunch of stuff for them. We always had a lot of fun with the Star Wars crew over there. We've been doing stuff for Lucasfilm since, a decade before Regal probably. And and it's always nice when we get to go back and do work for them and whether we're making stuff for little props and things like that for some of the shows, if we're doing stuff for the theme parks, if we're doing stuff for their offices or for the their presentations at Star Wars Celebration and helping make their stuff that much better. We're very, very lucky we get to do what we do. We're so lucky we know the people we know and that we get to sit here and, play Star Wars. Like,
that's awesome.
It's hard work.
It is.
And I am not easy on the team when it comes to how this stuff gets out of here and the finish level and the specificity of how this stuff looks. But I would much rather be, sitting here working really hard to make very accurate Star Wars stuff than working really hard doing just about anything. So, we're pretty lucky.
I have a question from the chat. It says, hey, Tom, I have a good idea for Regal Robot Cantina Cup bar gift set.
So that would technically be kitchenware, which would not be in our license. But being Cantina, I do love where your head's at. And, who knows what the future holds. Maybe there's some chance for some crossover there.
Yeah.
That's pretty great. Yep.
Yeah, seriously, I wouldn't mind. Oh, honey, I bought a do-back couch. Oh, good. That's where you're going to be sleeping.
That's where
Thank you. It's okay. That was a plan. That was all planned.
Yeah.
I was hoping you'd say that.
Exactly. Oh, don't mind if I do. But with that being said, great work. I know we're winding down. I know you said that
late here in New York.
Well, I was going to say is that I know you said you have a couple more things. We talked about the Tusken Raider bust. That's still for people listening and watching. Yep. That's still up for sale as of right now.
Gaffy stick coming.
2 versions of Gaffy sticks coming.
We've got the Mandalorian version, which is based on the molds that we used because we made that for the show. We have the A New Hope version based on a scan of the real prop, and the A New Hope is now an Oscar winning signature edition, Roger Christian.
Nice.
Who made the props for the first Star Wars. If you love the lightsabers, the blasters, the Gaffys, he's why. Super excited about that.
Any news on the price point, or will that be announced later on?
Right now, we are still finalizing that. My recollection is $11.99 for the Mando one, and that is all resin tip to tip. And then $18.99 for the A New Hope, which is resin for the section that's resin on the real prop, the wood look section, and real metal on the rest of it.
Okay.
And all welded and everything.
That's for the New Hope version.
Correct. And that'll be the signature one.
Oh my God. And I'm wondering who the signature is. Oh,
so I just said that's Roger Christian who signed,
Roger Christian. Who
created the props for the show. Yeah.
Well, I can't wait to have it, and hopefully I don't stab myself in the stomach when I'm playing
Please
around.
Don't do that. We're going to actually put a label on it that says PJ. Please don't stab yourself in the stomach with it. Chris Lord, what is the run on the Gaffy sticks? We will announce that soon. I don't have that now. It'll probably, what I can say is this: it's not going to be higher than 150.
Oh my gosh, that thing is going to fly.
It is. That one's going to fly.
Holy crap. So, that thing is definitely not going to be like, okay, let's wait around for the second day.
So what I will, right. Well, what I will say is this, so what's nice is even if those 150 sell, we do have the Mando version, which is still cool, but we also, I was always thinking maybe one day we do a really, really short run of the Rancor Keeper's Gaffy stick, which is, has a really unique double spike end on it. It would not be for everyone. Like that would have to be like a run of like 50 pieces or something. Wow. I don't even know if you could find 50 people that want it, but I think, these are the things that I think about.
Oh my gosh. If you do that, holy crap, that'll go. I'm like thinking, that'll go well with my Rancor. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that. So maybe we'd have to make as many as we made Rancors just in case.
Yeah, you never know.
Gosh,
so the Gaffy sticks are coming. We have a couple of magnets coming. One will be next week on the 6th. Will be something from the Obi-Wan series. Really cool magnet though. And then for New York Comic-Con on October 6th through the 9th. You can only get it online. You can only get it those days. Will be another magnet. And that one's off of a scan of a real prop, which is really cool. Something from the sequel trilogy, which is one of the things we haven't done much of on the site. So that's kind of neat.
Oh, cool.
What the heck?
How about
after
plaques?
that? End of September should be our next maquette, which we announced the other day is going to be Weequay. That's
nice.
Ken Ralston's work. Very excited about that one. We're working on the final approvals there, and then probably won't have much after that until Black Friday, where we'll probably have a couple of releases. We may do a maquette for Black Friday. In fact, currently planning to do a maquette for Black Friday. That will be something that will have about 100 of them ready to go for the holidays.
Signature.
After that, the rest will be delivered. So, the first 100 folks that pay in full would be able to get theirs in time for Christmas.
Is it signature?
We will have a signature on that one as well. Yes.
Oh,
yeah.
nice.
At this point, all of the maquettes going forward are a signature. There are a few rare cases where we've got people who sculpted that have passed away. But those are pretty rare. And, we have some other ideas on that. There's always things like going with the head of department for the creature shop, or doing something where we get someone who is involved in building the costume that would have held that maquette and used it when they were building the costume as something like that. But there's lots of ideas on that stuff. There's so much coming in that maquette line. I'm so excited about it. It to me is one of those things. I would see that panning shot in From Star Wars to Jedi with the music playing. It's just a black background of a bunch of tables with all these maquettes lined up.
I remember
and
that.
Now we're looking at that like a checklist. We're looking at this thing like, okay, got it, need it, got it. Can't wait to do that one. Can't wait to do this one.
I
really
love it.
have to do that one. And we're scanning these things in. We are working on what the next phases of development on a bunch of them. We're talking with people on the signature editions, and it's so exciting, and it's so broad, and it's something where I just can't wait to get a bunch of them out, because I feel like individually they're cool, but together they're freaking amazing. And I think what's going to happen is people are going to start to buy a bunch of them, and as soon as they get them, then they're like, oh, okay, I get it. Like, this is something we got to keep going with. We've got to get the rest of these in, because they're all so cool. And getting to see these originals, hold them in your hand and look around, it's like, it's hard to describe, it's like being around royalty or a rock star or something. When you see something you've seen on screen for years, and now it's in front of you, like, it almost doesn't
real.
register. Like, why is this here? This doesn't make sense. This should be on a screen somewhere, or something, on a VHS tape that I've worn out from watching it too many times.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say, I just want to give a shout out to Gabe from Collection Wars for doing such a great job interrogating you on the last time you were on their show.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
Oh my gosh, I was cracking up. He did a good job. He lawyered up.
Put the lawyer jacket on.
I was ready to call in. I was going to say, like, I'm not saying another thing till my lawyer gets here, and like, walk out the room.
And he pulled up the old, like, vintage, like, video. I was like, oh my gosh, he did his research. So, by the way, shout out to Collection Wars. I know, and Star Wars Replicas, aka Gabe, he is doing a giveaway on his channel. So check out Star Wars Replicas. It's this one, right? The Corbel Mag. Which one?
Yeah, and I don't know. That might have wrapped, but.
Okay.
Pardon me. Like I said, getting a little late, but
yeah,
he will be doing another review with us soon, I think. So you should be seeing some stuff from him in the coming weeks as well. That'll show off some of our stuff.
Awesome. Well, shout out to Gabe. And
love him.
Yeah, love Gabe. Love the Collection Wars crew. And I just want to say, Tom, like, seriously, this went by pretty quickly.
Yeah, this was fun.
Yeah.
There was a lot of fun. There's a lot of things happening.
And apologies for the yawn there. I tried to stifle it. That was not like, hey, I gotta go or anything. It was just
we yawn all the time because we think the show's gonna last like an hour and a half, and next thing you know, it's 3 hours long. We're like,
that happens when I start talking.
No,
not you.
Not you. Like, Tom, like, when we do our show, it's like, I always tell Sean, like, hour and a half. Like 8 o'clock, we say hour and a half. By the time 10 o'clock hits, we're done. Nope, it's like 10:30, 11 o'clock. We're like this. Oh my gosh, we're still talking here. But no, this is, I mean, especially when you're having good conversations, you just don't want to, like, stop.
Absolutely.
And Tom, seriously, like I said, I've been following your company since day one. I'm so happy how amazing it, like, all the stuff that you have put out, how your company has evolved. Thank you for putting out these amazing replicas, prop replicas, and really giving us the best Star Wars collectibles that collectors can buy. So
Thank you
really
so much,
appreciate it
man.
for all the hard work that you do out in Regal Robot
And
territory.
we appreciate every one of you guys, man. I mean, anybody who thinks that our stuff might make their home a little better and wants to bring a piece into it, that's like the biggest compliment in the world. When you're an artist, that someone wants your art, that's a really cool thing. And literally every sale we get to me is like a little mini miracle. And it's like, oh, cool, someone wanted that. That's great. Whether it's a magnet or some mid-sized thing or some big expensive prop, it's just like, this is a dream come true, and I'm so excited, and thank you for having me.
Oh,
you guys, it was a really great yes. Yeah, Monster in the background is out cold.
I didn't notice.
The eyes just opened up. He knows we're talking about.
Heard his name.
I think that's a hint.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. Sean, congratulations.
Yes,
thank
you,
you, Sean, for that.
Thank you
Again.
Yeah, we've been doing
awesome.
this for almost a year now, and I'm just so happy, my brother, that you got.
He can finally shut up about.
I know, right?
I know.
I almost felt guilty when I'm like, I love the Chewy Bust. Now I've got it.
Well, I can't wait till you tell your wife that you won it in a raffle. So,
I know, right?
Yeah, but no, really, thank you so much for having me be a part of the show. It was a blast. It's fun chatting with you on air and off. Sean, great to chat. Thank you so much for the purchase and for bringing that Chewy home. I'm really excited for you. It's like I picture in my mind you unpacking this thing now. So I hope you take some time, absorb that, and enjoy that moment. And again, really get in there, work that hair.
I will probably do an unboxing video, so I will have to study up on how to do the hair. So
that's
I can
right.
do it on camera. Yeah,
it. You got this. You got this. And here's the thing. The folks that work for me are some of the most pleasant customer service people around. They are there for you. If you have any questions, setting anything up, just drop a line. Katie will talk to you. She'll get me on the phone if I need to talk you through the hair work or something.
Okay, we'll do.
Yeah, we're always here to talk to folks. They're on email all day long, making sure that they answer everything as quickly as possible. Anybody who's bought from us knows this. You get those personal emails from us. This is not, there's no robot in Regal Robot. It's all human beings, and we're all, trying to do our best to stay in touch. So we love hearing from everybody, and thank you to everybody who had questions and stuff tonight too. That's awesome.
And I'm not trying to prolong this show, but
yes,
I've always wondered where the Regal Robot came from. I don't know if anyone's asked you that.
A few people have asked. So it's interesting. So my other company is Tom Spina Designs, and I always felt I made a terrible mistake naming that after myself. It makes me cringe every time, and I feel like it causes a lot of people to say, "Oh, Tom Spina made that," when it's like, well, no, I own the company, and a lot of times I worked on it, but there's also like, a bunch of other people that worked on it, or in some cases where someone totally different from me made it because he works for me. And I hate to take credit where I didn't actually physically do it. So when we were getting the license for Star Wars, I kind of looked at the company. This will be a slightly long story, but I'll try and cut it down. But I kind of looked at the company and I said, TSD does a lot of stuff, really wide net. I didn't want to dump a licensed thing in the middle of that, because it would just be too confusing. Like, people would get to the website, they wouldn't know where to go. I said, what we need here is another business, another brand that could have an identity that is solely focused on this licensed product and putting our spin on it. And and it also would insulate us in case it failed spectacularly, which luckily it didn't do. But so we started with that, and I kicked around a ton of different names and ideas. And one of the ideas I hit on was like, the other company has a logo that looks like an Easter Island head. Mysterious ancient sculpture, stuff that I love, a little Indiana Jones vibe to it. And it is not, believe it or not, a self-portrait, but I can see where people would think that. But it has a certain look to it. And I thought, like, it'd be cool to do something maybe based on the Easter Island head, like maybe, Moai production, and it's like, no, there's other stuff with that. Maybe like, something go dopey, like, oh, Big Stone Head Productions or whatever. It's like, yeah, that sounds kind of dumb, So we tried a bunch of stuff around that, and I thought we could break it out and just use that logo as kind of like a starting point. And then I was talking with my buddy Art Andrews, who runs the RPF and stuff like that. Now he's with Prop Store, who's like one of my favorite places for original movie props and stuff like that. And he and I have known each other for 105 years, since the mid to late 90s, and we would talk on Instant Messenger on AIM about the dewback. Like, we were both obsessed with the original classic dewback. That's really why that dewback sofa happened. Like, I'm like literally obsessed with that thing. But and he said, I always liked your other logo. I always liked that there was a nobility about it. It looked regal. And I was like, Regal's a good word. And I'm like, what? Regal this, Regal that. And I was like, Regal Robot. And I'm like, that sounds like a thing. Like, that sounds like something.
Catchy.
It sounds so good that someone's got to have it,
Yeah.
So immediately went looking, and it was like, well, I could, the Facebook was available, the Twitter was available, YouTube was available-ish, and then it became available. There were, this kind of stuff. And then I found the domain. Someone had it. They weren't using it, but it was going up for auction in like 30 days. And so I squatted all the social media. We started dreaming ahead on things, and I was like, oh, we could make a robot version of my Easter Island Head logo. And we tried a bunch of those. One day I'll put some pictures of that up because it was fun stuff. It didn't really work. We wound up with this that was done by, it was me and a guy that works with us. And then Chris Trevis kind of logoized it for us from parts of Star Wars. And it really, I love the logo. I was like really, really happy with how that turned out. But we waited those 30 days, and it was like, I was sweating that because I was just so in love with it, with the idea of the name and I could see all this stuff in my head. I was like, this works so good. And eventually the auction went, and I got it for next to nothing. And that was it. As soon as I got that, it was like, get the incorporation documents going, get everything going. This is happening, and this is the name.
And
so there you go.
That's how Regal Robot was born, and our wallets were destroyed from that point.
And it was literally like in this chair at this computer. Like, this was where all those conversations were happening. This was where all the mocking up was happening. It was
that's so good to hear.
That's
really great to hear. It's cool, and I'm so glad that you were able to tell that story of how you came up with the name Regal Robot. And sometimes it's just it's something that magical, like just. Like, that's the name you want to go with.
It really was like just that quick. It was just like, there it is, that's what we're doing.
Yeah. When it hits, it hits. And you're like, bing, that's it. Yeah. Let's go.
Yeah.
Well, awesome.
Tom, again, thank you so much. I don't want to take up any more of your time.
That's
sorry.
Fine.
Like,
no,
do you see where we're going at? Like,
we could talk for another hour.
We'll like try and say goodbye, and then one of us will go, oh, you know what though?
Yeah. Because I do have a question, but I'll ask you after the show.
It's like, this Columbo, you're a show writer, it's like, excuse me, just one more thing. I'm very sorry.
I know. I love Columbo. I hate when he does that, but you're like,
yeah.
All right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. You didn't do it.
Right.
But where were you?
However,
yes. Peter Falk. Oh, what an amazing show.
So good.
Yes. Thank you to everyone that tuned in.
Yes,
thank you for listening, watching. Thank you for all the support. Thank you, Tom, for coming on the show, taking the time out of your busy day, busy schedule
to come talk about your purchase.
Yes.
Well,
can't wait to get that.
Look out for mine, because
I can't wait.
Yep, mine's probably going to be coming pretty soon. So, by the way, Tuscan Raider bus more than half sold.
Now available.
Guys, now still available. So,
jump on it.
Go ahead on it before the Regal Robot website, regalrobot.com, and it'll be right on the slider. One of the first things you see, you just click it, head there, and check it out. And even if you don't buy one, go check, look at the pics, maybe share it with your friends, because that always helps us out too. Make sure folks know where we are. We're still a tiny company when it comes to this stuff. So anybody out there, share what we do. If you like it, if you want us to keep going, that's a way to help us grow.
Yes, exactly. The support that you guys, give Regal. It helps them grow, helps us give us
Absolutely.
more
we
products.
appreciate that so much. When I see somebody posting something we've done on one of the groups, like that just makes my heart feel good, because it's like, one, it's like, yes, they're helping share what we do, but two, it's like, man, somebody saw this and was like, oh man, people should know about this. Like, that's a cool feeling.
Yes. Well, yeah, once I get my Salacious, you know me, I'll do my my review and everything, pictures. But
cool. You're gonna love them.
Thank you, Tom. Again, guys, show some support. Check out regalrobot.com. And just something in the future, we do have Diamond Select Toys coming up in a couple days. So definitely tune in for that. Tom, thank you again.
Yes,
and
Tom, thank you.
Thank you.
May the midichlorians be with everyone. Always and forever. Take care. I was supposed to do the outro first. No, that's not.
The dark side of the Force is a pathway to many abilities some consider to be unnatural.